Are you someone who's trying to hop on to your next job? Well, in this video, you're going to be learning 5 pros and 5 cons of hopping jobs. Stay tuned. Hello, welcome to Enriching Beliefs. This is Karthik. Thank you so much for tuning in. This is going to be an important video for you if you're especially trying to make that switch. All right. Even before we get started on to what can be those 5 pros and cons, let us look at a quick concept before we go forward. And the quick concept is this. The debate or the discussion that we are going to have, it's not about whether job hopping is good or bad. That is not the point of discussion. Probably that will be a different topic for another video. But here, can you make those informed decisions which you need not or will not probably regret later on in the future after you make that switch, right? So that's the important area of focus. So let's get on with the 5 pros now. The first pro of hopping job is the factor of novelty. What is this novelty? We as humans, we always like anything, or in fact, anything that's new catches our attention. So when you're trying to switch a job, or when you've made this decision to switch a job, probably you're thinking about something new that is going to come in your life, some kind of a new experience that you want to have in your life, specifically in this case, career aspects. All right, so that can be a very important trigger for you to make the switch. And by novelty, it should not again be a painful thing. What you're thinking about, the new things, it should be something which is pleasant for you in terms of your experience. Okay, so that factor always drives us to do certain things. This can be an important factor for you. And lots of times it also turns out to be a good decision for making that switch. Second thing, who doesn't like a better raise in their salaries, right? This is probably one of the very important or key factor that determines why someone makes a switch into the job. And the thing is, this cannot be the only factor. All right. So this definitely helps you to increase the status that you have, increase or improve the lifestyle choices that you can make, and lots of other things with increased salary. But also with increased pay comes increased responsibilities as well. So if that's something which really drives you, you will see these kind of a pros happening in your new job. Okay, that's the second point. The third pro that you might experience is that you might actually be getting aligned with your values. And what do you mean? What do I actually mean by that? If a company has certain value systems which are congruent with yours, I think that's the best place for you to work. Why is it important? If you are constantly working on something that's actually valuable to you, you will perform at your best every single day. All right, so probably this can be an input for you to do your job research before you make the hop. See if the values align with you. For example, if for me, impact is a very important value in my life. So when I'm trying to make a switch, what kind of impact this company is going to create in this world is probably an important factor for me before I make the switch. So now just think about, or probably write in the comments below, what are those top values that you see in a company before you make a switch. I want you to actually comment below and just share those thoughts, because the more you share, the more it will be clear in your mind. All right, that's the third factor, or the third pro. Fourth one being working with people whom you already know. Well, job hopping is actually a very energy intensive and probably mental intensive job to do. You have to do lots of things, prepare well, and then do it, clear lots of interviews, and then get through and get the job. And if in that job you already know people whom you have probably worked with in the past, nothing like it, right? Because now you don't have to build everything from the scratch. There is someone who already knows you and someone whom you can trust, so that you can keep building your career there. All right, so this can be an important factor when you're trying to make a switch. And just drop a message or a comment below saying if you have been in this situation where you have hopped the job because you are going to be working with someone you already know? Drop me a comment there. All right, so opportunity to expand your network, probably a very important factor, right? So any new association that you are going to form in your career, it's going to expand your network. So that's going to be really important in the long-term aspects of your career growth, right? So this can be, again, a very important pro for you to start or probably switch the job. All right. So, well, there can be multiple pros, but in this video, I just thought I'll focus on these 5 pros. Now, let's also understand what can be those cons, right? For you, when you start hopping a job. The first thing is building your trust from the scratch. Any new job that you're going to take up, there might be few people you might even know there, but if they're not closely associated with you in that team which you're going to get into, probably it's a start from position 0, right? You have to start building your trust. You have to start proving things to others. Let's see what's coming up in this. The first one is, yeah, you like it or not, at a new job, you're going to be monitored and judged. People who have made this decision of having you as part of their team, having you as part of the organization, they are constantly going to be, I'm not saying micromanaging, but probably they're going to be trying to know if they have made the right decision. Therefore, you are going to be watched, and you have to build each and every move of you matters, especially in the initial days when you get onto a job. All right. So you have to start building your trust from the scratch. Everyone wants to know, like I just said, if their decision is right or wrong. It's not mostly going to be about you, but they want to determine if the quality of candidates they are interviewing and recruiting is actually as per their expectations. So that's the first con, because this is going to take time. Trust cannot be built overnight, right? Second one, let's say you are going to make a switch, and the switch requires you to learn a new technology altogether. You've been working on certain areas, but all of a sudden now you have realized that probably this is going to be helpful for your long-term benefits, long-term career goals. And therefore, you might have to actually learn a new technology. And what comes with this? First one, preparation time is going to be a little bit more, right? More time invested in learning the concepts. So you might actually lose out on that opportunity because there's a lot of learning time, and that position might actually get filled by someone else who's already good at that. Third one, may not be able to generate results as fast as your boss's expectations. This is something which I probably see a lot of times, because let's understand one thing. Giving an interview or presenting yourself in an interview is much more different than how you operate after you get into that job. All right. You might have prepared really well for interviews, but when you get on and when you actually experience the real-time challenges, that's when your expertise is going to be checked. And if it's a new thing that you're just learning out, well, your expectations might not match up with the expectations that your boss or your peers have for that specific role. And that might cause a little bit of stress in your own life or in your own mind, for that matter, right? So this can be a kind of a con if you're trying to get onto a new technology. The third one is, you never know the culture unless you're part of it. Let's see what's coming up under this. The first one is roadmap. Well, like I just mentioned here, it's never very clear until you're there in the game. You might have heard lots of reviews and even done some research, but when you're there as part of the team, when you're there as part of that culture, is when you will exactly know what is actually the roadmap of this organization, what kind of politics you have to deal with day in and day out. Whom you'll report to might actually change from the time you gave your interview to the time you joined. Actually, this has happened for lots of people, isn't it? If you're someone who has faced this, okay, probably I'm going to join this company or organization because of this person, because I really like this person and I'll be reporting to him. And by the time you join there, after serving your notice and all that, you will see that this person is no more in the company, right? And you might probably end up with someone who doesn't actually inspire you, and that can be a con when you're switching the job. Or let's do the research well. Adjusting to it, the kind of culture, you might figure out that you might actually have to deal with not just people whom you have already, you are comfortable with, the kind of cultures, but if it's an international culture, it needs a little bit different kind of a training and education for you to get adjusted to. So that can be a little kind of a con if you really don't understand how certain people behave in certain cultures. Well, it might be a little bit very difficult for you to get involved in the activities as such. So I was part of this Japanese culture, and it took me a long time for me to get adjusted to how they think, how they perceive, and what kind of things that they actually follow in their culture. So this is something you need to be really aware of. All right. So the fifth and the final con that you might face because of switching the jobs or job hopping is a factor of risk always exists. All right. So as soon as you go, there might be some leadership changes that might be happening in that organization. There might be some policy changes which might not again align with the values that you have. And if that does not align with the values that you have, you will not feel that inspiration and motivation to be there in your best possible way. Right? So there are always that unseen or unforeseen, or that's something you cannot research when you're trying to find the next job for you to hop. But only when you're there inside the organization will you realize, okay, I probably did not perceive this risk. All right. That's the third one. The fourth one being not prepared enough for the next level role. I see this happening time and time and time again. Why does this happen? Let's understand this. Are you someone who's actually going to lead a team? You've been working, really doing well as an individual contributor. Now you're hopping onto the next job where you aspire to be a leader, but then do you actually know how to lead teams? Do you know what it actually takes to be a leader? I see lots of people failing really badly at this, and that's probably one of the key reasons why I thought this is something which people need to be trained on. And that's exactly why I created this Leadership Impact Hub, where I teach corporate professionals how they can not just increase their income, but also increase their impact, become great leaders, and create that positive culture and environment around them. If you're someone really keen on learning it, I'll leave a link where you can join my private FB group where I teach this on a weekly basis. All right. So this is a very important thing to know. So as I just said, and also if you're switching from a lead kind of a role and going on to a individual contributor role, so many people feel like, okay, I'm missing out on being part of a team, encouraging people, because encouraging people is one of the key factors for some to feed that energy onto themselves, and they perform well when they're put in that team kind of an environment. So if you're making this switch again, you have to be really aware of how things are going to be panning out to you. All right. So be prepared well if you're taking on to the next level of role. That's very important. And the fifth one being not doing enough research. Just tell me frankly, just drop in the comments and tell me if you just hopped some of your jobs because of the pay rise that you're going to get. Just drop in a comment, because I've done that as well. And I've done that and later on realized, and that's why it has made it to this point here, because that's not how you have to do. You have to do a little bit of research before joining the job. Why did this position got opened up? Have you tried to understand that? Is it because the new projects are coming, which also showcases growth within the company, or is it because of some other reason? All right. The second point you have to analyze is what led to the previous person to quit. And I happened to attend one of the interviews, and only later on in the later stages did I realize that it was a very stressful job, and that's why this person quit. And then I made a decision not to accept the offer. So what led to the previous person who was in this role to quit? Very important thing to know. Your work location. Some people just assume things, and specifically in this day and age when you're constantly working from home and connecting from home, probably within the 6 months, the offices wants to open up and you might want to relocate and work from a different place. There's something you need to be really very clear about. Fourth one, flexibility with respect to work from home. What are your actual set working hours where you are expected to just be focused and do the work, so that you can actually demarcate the time between your professional time and your personal time. Very important aspect to know as well. Fifth one, prepared well for the interview but not much for the job. I think I mentioned this in one of the previous points, but again, it also comes back to the kind of research you have to do before you get onto the job. So how does a typical day in this role looks like? That can be something you might ask during your interviews. All right, so these are some of the things which can become a con if you do not understand well where you're going, what are the roles you're going to take up, what's the kind of culture, the values this company has, whom you're going to reporting to, is that person going to change? Lots of factors that you need to be really aware of before you make the hop. So if this video gave some amount of idea on how you have to be prepared well, as I said, it's not about should you hop or not, it's about being prepared enough so that you can make those right choices. Leave me a like and subscribe to this channel, because I'll be sharing very similar or maybe more powerful insights into your career growth and how you can become a leader and keep growing and creating that impact in your life. All right, so thank you so much again for tuning in. This is Karthik signing off. I'll catch you in the next one. Take care.